Earth, an asteroid, and the dinosaurs. Three forces collided in one fateful moment, and the history of life was changed forever. Around 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid hurtled toward Earth at an unimaginable speed, unleashing energy equal to billions of nuclear bombs. In less than 17 minutes, magnitude 11 earthquakes rippled across the planet, tearing apart valleys in the Northwest Pacific and striking terror into the creatures that once ruled the world. An entire ancient empire crumbled in the blink of an eye. Yet that ending wasn't truly the end. A small branch of dinosaurs survived, evolving over millions of years, growing feathers, taking flight, and soaring across the skies we see today. You might not realize it, but the descendants of dinosaurs are still living among us right now. Let's return to that fateful moment, when in just a few seconds, Earth was reshaped forever. During the peaceful Cretaceous period, dinosaurs reigned supreme. The sky was clear, the breeze was gentle, then suddenly a tiny light appeared. It grew larger, burning as bright as the sun, and in an instant, that light consumed everything. That event is known as the Chicxulub impact, which struck the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico about 66 million years ago. The culprit was none other than an asteroid roughly 15 kilometers wide, hurtling toward Earth at 72,000 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than a supersonic jet. As it tore through the dense atmosphere, it didn't slow down. In just 3 seconds, the meteor ripped through the sky, compressing the air to a blistering 35,000 degrees C, hot enough to vaporize entire shallow seas before even touching the ground. The impact released energy equal to 1 billion Hiroshima atomic bombs. A blazing plasma fireball, hotter than the sun, exploded outward, shaking the Earth to its core. Shockwaves raced across the land at over 1,600 kilometers per hour, flattening everything for thousands of kilometers. The ground split open. Magnitude 11 earthquakes rippled across the planet within minutes, awakening volcanoes on the other side of the world. Moments later, the oceans rose in fury. A wall of water more than 200 meters high surged from the Gulf of Mexico, sending tsunamis sweeping across the globe within hours. Tens of trillions of tons of rock and debris were blasted into space, only to rain back down upon the planet, igniting a global storm of falling fire. Those molten fragments sent surface temperatures soaring, igniting vegetation and turning the planet into a sea of fire. Within just 90 minutes, ground temperatures in many regions reached up to 150 degrees, and nearly 70% of the world's forests burned to ash. But the true doomsday was only beginning. Chicxulub struck a region rich in oil and sulfur, releasing hundreds of billions of tons of toxic gases into the atmosphere. Sulfur dioxide, SO2, hydrogen sulfide, H2S, and carbon dioxide, CO2. A vast shroud of black soot spread across the sky, blocking out up to 90% of the sun's light. Acid rain poured down, the oceans turned poisonous, and plankton, the foundation of the food chain, vanished completely. On land, plants could no longer photosynthesize. Herbivores starved, and the predators that fed on them soon followed. Earth descended into an impact winter, a dark freezing age that lasted for years. Average temperatures dropped by more than 20 degrees C, rainfall plummeted by 80%, and much of the planet turned into a frozen desert. But the catastrophe didn't end there. On the far side of the world, deep beneath India, the Earth awakened. The Deccan Traps, one of the largest volcanic systems in history, erupted to life. The great question remains unanswered. Did the Chicxulub impact trigger it? Or was it a tragic coincidence of fate? Either way, the Deccan Traps played a crucial role in the mass extinction. Lava from thousands of relentless eruptions spread across more than 1.5 million square kilometers, nearly the size of modern-day India. In some regions, volcanic rock piled up to a thickness of 2 kilometers. Over hundreds of thousands of years, more than 1.5 million cubic kilometers of lava poured out, enough to blanket the entire United States under 400 meters of stone. Each eruption sent billions of tons of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide into the sky. The SO2 produced acid rain and toxic haze, burning forests and acidifying the oceans. While SO2 cooled the planet, CO2 heated it back up. And so, Earth was trapped in a deadly cycle of freezing, then scorching, scorching, then freezing. An era of wild climate swings that tore ecosystems apart. Scientists believe the Deccan traps may have caused global temperatures to rise by 8 to 10 degrees C, before plunging again as acid rain spread across the world. Each eruption was like a blade, slowly cutting away the final breath of the Cretaceous period. If the Chicxulub impact was the killing blow, then the Deccan traps were the long, drawn-out agony, the slow death that ended the dinosaurs' world forever. As the last fires of the impact faded, Earth entered an age of darkness. The sky was shrouded in ash and sunlight could no longer pierce the thick black clouds above. What scientists call the impact winter had begun. Global temperatures plunged by more than 20 degrees C in an instant. Day turned to night, and night became endless. Cold winds tore through the scorched forests, scattering the ashes of a world that once was. On land, plants withered away, unable to photosynthesize. As the forest died, herbivores like Triceratops and Ankylosaurus vanished, not from predation, but from hunger and cold. The food chain collapsed within months. The giants that once ruled the planet fell silent, and even the predators like T-Rex held on only a little longer, until they too succumbed in a world without life. In the oceans, a similar tragedy unfolded. Ash and sulfur rained onto the seas, turning the waters into a deadly acidic brew. Plankton, the foundation of the marine food chain, disappeared, triggering mass extinction in the depths below. It was as if the entire planet had been reset to zero. And yet, amid the devastation, some managed to survive. Not the mighty, but the small, the hidden, the patient. They burrowed deep into caves beneath the ground or into swampy shelters where the firestorms couldn't reach. Turtles, crocodiles, a few small mammals, and most notably, the light-bodied feathered dinosaurs that could retain heat, the ancestors of modern birds, endured through the coldest years in Earth's history. As the ash slowly settled, the sun once again began to pierce the hazy sky. Ice melted, rivers flowed, and from the darkened soil, the first green shoots of life emerged once more. Earth began to awaken once more. From the ashes, life rebuilt itself, slowly but relentlessly. And among the new forests taking root, a few small creatures began to change. They were no longer the giants their ancestors had been, but something more refined, more intelligent, and better suited to this post-apocalyptic world. These were the last of the dinosaurs, the beings on the brink of one of evolution's greatest transformations, learning to reshape their very forms in order to survive. And as I mentioned earlier, these cataclysms did not wipe out all life on Earth. Most species perished instantly, yet a few were spared. Only a handful of small dinosaurs and some animals survived. Almost no four-legged creatures heavier than 55 pounds made it through, except sea turtles and crocodiles. Those that did endure found refuge in caves high in the mountains, or in sheltered regions less affected by the immediate devastation. Pockets of surviving dinosaurs may have persisted in protected environments such as swamps, dense rainforests, and higher latitudes. All survivors shared one thing in common: the ability to hide. They burrowed deep into rock, slipped underground, or submerged themselves in water, places where the firestorms could not reach. Some scientists even suggest that small pockets of life managed to hold on in isolated areas. Humid marshlands, shadowed jungles, or cooler mountain zones at higher latitudes. Even species on the far side of the planet, untouched by the direct blast, could not escape the waves of heat and the meteor rain that followed. Thus, only creatures that could dig or dive truly had a chance. Scientists still debate how long the very last dinosaurs actually survived. Most fossil evidence suggests that those who endured the first day, if any did, lasted only a few weeks, months, or at best, a few years. Some studies describe it as a 15-year nightmare, during which the dust and ash in the atmosphere blocked out photosynthesis entirely, killing off vegetation and plunging the planet into an eternal winter. If the impact itself was the fatal blow, then the collapse of the food chain was the final strike. In the aftermath, every form of life was thrown into chaos. The herbivorous dinosaurs, which made up most of Earth's biomass, were the first to fall. When sunlight vanished, photosynthesis stopped, and plants could no longer grow. Meanwhile, massive wildfires had already burned away most of the remaining vegetation. That meant the herbivores were doomed almost instantly. They were quite literally doomed from the get-go. Imagine an Argentinosaurus, a 30-meter titan that needed over a ton of leaves every day just to survive. In a world without greenery, it never stood a chance. Even the smaller plant eaters, if lucky enough to find a patch of forest that hadn't burned, could only cling to life for a few days, before hunger and cold claimed them too. The carnivorous dinosaurs, once the apex predators of Earth, managed to endure a little longer. After the disaster, the carcasses of millions of dead creatures were scattered everywhere, offering a temporary food source. But as prey grew scarce, that supply quickly ran out. And once the herbivores were gone, the entire food chain collapsed. Some studies have suggested that a few isolated dinosaur populations may have lingered for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. A controversial discovery in the San Juan Basin, spanning Colorado and New Mexico, revealed fossils of a hadrosaur and a T-Rex found in rock layers dated some 500,000 years after the impact. However, most scientists believe these fossils were reworked, washed out from older layers and reburied in younger sediments, creating the illusion of a later survival. When the age of the giants finally ended, a completely new era began, the Cenozoic era, also known as the Age of Mammals. The Cenozoic opened with its first chapter, the Paleogene period, lasting more than 40 million years. During its earliest epoch, the Paleocene, the planet was still recovering from the shock of extinction. In those early Paleocene years, Earth's climate was warm and humid, and lush rainforests covered almost the entire globe. It was an age of renewal, when nature began rebuilding the food chain from zero. Over time, the climate gradually changed. The Eocene epoch saw the rise of giant mammals like Andrewsarchus, a powerful predator with a bite force stronger than any living animal today. It was also during this time that the ancestors of whales began leaving the land behind, venturing into the oceans. By the Oligocene epoch, around 34 million years ago, Earth started to cool. Tropical forests retreated, giving way to open grasslands. Antarctica began to freeze, and colossal mammals like Indracotherium, nearly 5 meters tall and weighing up to 20 tons, ruled the continents. It was an era when the post-dinosaur world reached its greatest diversity since life had recovered. Then came the Neogene, marking the planet's transformation toward its modern form. The continents settled into place, the climate grew drier, and new species adapted to the vast grasslands. Horses, antelopes, and the mighty saber-toothed cats emerged. The oceans became the domain of Megalodon, a colossal shark stretching 15 meters long and weighing up to 30 tons. Eventually came the Quaternary period, beginning about 2.5 million years ago, ushering Earth into the Ice Ages and marking the dawn of humankind. At that time, many giant creatures still roamed the planet. Gigantopithecus, the 4-meter-tall giant ape, Megalotherium, the massive ground sloth, and Diprotodon, a wombat the size of a car. But then came humans, armed with intelligence and tools. And slowly, they became the planet's new rulers. Even now, you might think dinosaurs are gone forever, but they're not. In truth, they never really left. They've simply evolved, taking on a new form. Smaller, yes, but no less remarkable. Scientists believe dinosaurs are still living among us today, though their appearance is far from what most people imagine. The second answer to the question, why did the dinosaurs disappear, is that they didn't. They evolved. When most dinosaurs perished, only a small branch of the theropods, the two-legged meat-eaters, survived. They were smaller, smarter, and more agile. Over millions of years, they reshaped their bodies to adapt to a completely different world, the one that came after the apocalypse. Researchers have traced this evolutionary path by comparing the brains and skulls of ancient dinosaurs, modern reptiles, and birds. A team led by Professor Bart Anjan S. Buller at Yale University uncovered a stunning connection. Changes in the way the brain developed had actually reshaped the structure of the skull itself, opening the evolutionary bridge from dinosaurs to birds. Scientists discovered that as some dinosaur species evolved larger brains, particularly in the forebrain and midbrain, it altered how the frontal and parietal bones formed around them. In simpler terms, the brain told the skull to change shape, creating a new kind of head structure, lighter, more compact, and optimized for processing information and coordinating rapid movement. To test this bold hypothesis, Bullar's team used advanced contrast-enhanced CT scanning to compare embryos of lizards, crocodiles, and birds. The results revealed a profound correlation between brain architecture and skull shape, something never seen before. This means that the brain didn't just control the body, it also helped design it throughout evolution. The discovery led to a daring idea that over millions of years, dinosaur brains may have emitted molecular signals, biological blueprints, guiding the surrounding bones to grow in new ways. Through this self-sculpting mechanism, their skulls gradually expanded and lightened, creating more room for the brain and paving the way for sharper vision, navigation, and eventually the power of flight. When combined with other changes, hollow bones, insulating feathers, a specialized respiratory system, and agile three-toed legs, these creatures transform from land predators into masters of the sky. Look closely at a bird today, and you'll still see those same traits. The flexible shoulders of Velociraptor, the leg structure of Deinonychus, and that piercing gaze only a true hunter possesses. Professor Bullard describes this process as an evolution both simple and elegant, not a miracle, not a sudden mutation, but the natural outcome of millions of years of adjustment, adaptation, and selection. When the world changed, only those who could learn to change themselves survived. Dinosaurs didn't vanish. They grew smaller, smarter, and learned to fly. The beauty of it all is that this transformation didn't happen in a single leap. It was like watching a statue slowly emerge from rough stone, layer by layer, detail by detail, until the final form appeared, a creature capable of flight, guided by superior intelligence. Dinosaurs, rulers of the earth for over 160 million years, stepped off the stage of life. But that curtain fall was not an ending. It was a passing of the torch. Because nature in all its cruelty remains fair. When one door closes, another opens, allowing life to continue, even if it wears a different face. They still exist. In every strand of DNA, every bone structure, every instinct that echoes through the creatures of today. Each crocodile's bellow in the swamp, each eagle's wings cutting through the sky, are the living echoes of a glorious age long past. We call this the legacy of the dinosaurs. Not the fossils lying silent in museums, but the living pulse of evolution that still moves all around us. Dinosaurs never truly died. They transformed, adapted, and became part of a new world. Some took to the skies as birds. Others remained as modern reptiles, and a tiny fragment of their genetic code, in ways we still don't fully understand, continues to flow through the veins of life today, even within us. Look around you. A sparrow perched on a branch tilting its head to listen to the wind. An owl gliding silently through the darkness, its round eyes reflecting the moonlight. An ostrich sprinting across the blazing desert, its powerful legs pounding the earth. They all carry the shadow of their ancestors, the rulers of a prehistoric world. The claws are gone, the fangs have faded, yet every feather, every movement remains a perfect continuation of the dinosaur legacy. They learn to shrink their bodies, to conserve energy, to fly farther, to live smarter, all thanks to the harsh lessons written in the history of evolution. An eagle soaring over a cliff is the living echo of an ancient velociraptor. The same gaze, the same stance, the same precise dive. A humble rooster crowing at dawn still carries more than 60% of its DNA from the theropods, the family that once gave rise to the legendary T-Rex. And when you hear the song of birds at sunrise, that is the voice of the past, echoing across tens of millions of years of evolution. The legacy of the dinosaurs does not lie in their size, but in their ability to change, to endure. They teach us that life never truly disappears. It only changes form, changes role, to adapt to a world that never stops transforming. Look deeper, and you'll see that the legacy of dinosaurs is not limited to living creatures, but woven into the very law of nature itself, the law of selection and renewal. When the environment shifts, species that cannot adapt fade away, but from their death, new life is born. From the ash-rich soil of the dinosaurs, grass grew. From the grass came the herbivores. From them, the predators arose, and finally, humankind emerged. If the Chicxulub impact had never happened, dinosaurs might still rule the Earth, and humanity might never have appeared. We exist because they ended. In other words, humans are the indirect descendants of dinosaurs, not through DNA, but through the opportunity they left behind. The fall of the giants cleared the path for the small, and that small creature, after tens of millions of years, learned to walk upright, craft tools, and gaze at the distant stars with the same curiosity their ancestors once turned toward the sky. The extinction of the dinosaurs taught us that no rule lasts forever. No matter how powerful, any species can vanish in an instant if it fails to adapt. It is a hard lesson, not only of nature but of human evolution itself. Because in the modern world, humanity has become the new giant, dominant over the planet, yet testing the limits of its own survival. When we see a dinosaur fossil in a museum, we often think of it as a symbol of an ending. But in truth, it is a map of continuation. From those bones, scientists have uncovered DNA, traced evolutionary patterns, and found the answer to one timeless question. How does life rise again after destruction? Dinosaurs left us more than scientific curiosity. They left us biological inspiration. Through studying them, we've come to understand evolution, genetics, and how life can transform to survive even the harshest worlds. And through that journey, we've also learned to understand ourselves. Because if evolution is a river that never stops flowing, then humankind today is but one bend in that endless stream. Just as the dinosaurs once stood at the peak of life and then disappeared, one day, we too may leave the stage, making way for another. That is not tragedy. It is the law, a closed circle where destruction and rebirth forever walk hand in hand. Today, dinosaurs still fly, not as giant beasts, but in the beating wings of billions of birds across the planet. Every lift of a wing is history reminding us, evolution never stands still. From the tiny sparrow to the mighty ostrich, from the silent owl to the proud eagle, all carry within them the soul of the dinosaurs. They are proof that life can vanish in one form, yet continue in another. Lighter, gentler, but no less powerful. So when you look up at the sky and see a bird in flight, pause for a moment. Know that you are witnessing the living legacy of an age long past, of creatures that once shook the earth, now reborn as symbols of freedom. It is nature's reminder, everything can change, but life itself never disappears. It only finds a new form, another way to endure, to tell the story of Earth once more. If you felt captivated by this journey, don't forget to leave a like to support the channel and subscribe so you won't miss the next adventure. Every subscription you make fuels our mission to keep telling the wondrous stories of the universe, the Earth, and the extraordinary creatures that shape the history of our planet.